If you're involved in niche circles of anime, you've probably heard about Yuri on Ice. Either you're foaming at the mouth at how beautiful the pair skate was, or you haven't watched it. There are no gray areas. For those who haven't watched the show, it's basically homoerotic ice skating. And although it is confirmed as queer and we know what's going on between Yuri and Victor, there's a certain layer of ambiguity within their relationship that makes it interesting. But let's talk about their relationship for a second and how the story goes. Yuri on Ice starts off showing Yuri's decline. His career has taken a downturn. Although he has potential for greatness, he suffered a devastating failure at the big ice skating competition, the Grand Prix Final. Yuri has an admiration, a sort of obsession that he's held since childhood with a guy named Victor. Basically, Victor is like the Beyonce of men's ice skating, but Russian, and an ice skater. I think we all left the show a little obsessed with Victor, to be honest. So after returning home to Japan with the question of his retirement, Yuri decides to imitate one of Victor's routines. After it gets uploaded to the internet, like so many things shouldn't be, it catches the attention of Victor. Under the guise of some sort of fascination or love for what Yuri had done with his routine, Victor decides to become Yuri's coach, and together, Yuri begins to show the potential he can reach, with the theme of love. One of his routines is called On Love. Eros. He imagines it as the story of a playboy that comes into town to gain the love of the most beautiful woman, only to toss her aside. At first, Yuri decides to skate as the playboy, but soon learns that he's definitely not a playboy at all. He tries to dance as the beautiful woman. When first debuting the skate, he said to the world he was going to imagine eating his favorite dish, the pork cutlet bowl. But, as he said to Victor, he would become the pork cutlet bowl. He begins to gain his lacking confidence, and slowly, the love between him and Victor develops. Although it's evident that Victor was fascinated with Yuri all along, their personal bond further solidifies through the work they do together. But there's a different story that's being told through the lens of Victor. What? It turns out that he and Yuri had met once before, at the banquet from last year's Grand Prix Final. Yuri got a little intoxicated. He began to dance with the other competitors. He seemed crazy and confident, a playboy. Him and Victor shared that one night of passion, and we don't really know the full extent of it. But to Victor, Yuri was the playboy that came and stole his heart. And this story may provide a possible explanation why Victor was so touchy with Yuri when they first met. Victor just thought that Yuri was the kind of guy who'd like to get provocatively naked in hot springs. He thought that that night of passion was still alive in him. And at first, a lot of people, including me, thought these moments were just bait. Queer bait, to be specific, making the audience think that these characters were queer, only to scream, "No homo!" And although some scenes were provocative in the way that they displayed the nature between the two characters, eventually the show delivered.
Yuri 以上に驚かせる方法はこれしか思いつかない。
And that's when people started to call it revolutionary. And in many regards it is. It shows a healthy queer relationship between two main characters in a show that isn't mainly focused on LGBT+ issues. They even have a sequence where, before the big competition, Yuri buys rings for him and Victor, suggesting marriage.
追い詰められたアスリートは時として全く予想もつかない行動をする。
They both support each other, and their friends are supportive as well. But there are understandable questions that are raised when it comes to the idea of just how revolutionary the show is. Of course, there are definite admirable moments, like paying homage to gay figure skater Johnny Weir through Victor, or endearing moments like the ring exchange. But still, the moment that made everybody know the pairing was real, that kiss on ice, is still debated among fans. The kiss in episode 7 can still be interpreted as a hug. And yes, we all know it was a kiss. I know it was a kiss. The creator even compared that scene to another kiss scene. Victor, in the show, said that the gesture was meant to be a surprise. And considering that Victor and Yuri aren't completely foreign to the idea of getting hot and heavy with each other, I don't see how a hug is a surprise for Yuri. But as we live in a heteronormative society, there are people who will doubt the fiasco because of an arm. That damn arm! And it is a reasonable question. Why have the arm there? We all know what's going on. But what's the point of blocking the kiss? Several people have been pointing to Japanese censorship laws, but that's not the case. Gay stuff is allowed in Japan all the time. Shows like Number 6 featured a gay kiss in a non-gay story, and it wasn't banned. And that kiss was explicitly shown. Tumblr user Saotome-michi explained in a detailed post that Yuri on Ice had no reason to censor the kiss as far as restrictions in Japan go. As they pointed out, the show airs at 1 AM to 3 AM. I mean, come on, I don't even watch TV at that time. I sit in my bed reading fanfiction while I pretend to be asleep. And since it's broadcast so late, it means that it isn't exactly broadcast to a wide audience, instead relying on DVD sales. It also isn't an issue of the network banning them from airing the kiss, because Number 6 aired on a national network as well. So why block the kiss? Is it an artistic style? Was the artist just so determined in adding the extra ambiguity of the arm? That might be true, and we've seen Victor hold Yuri in that manner through different pictures on the show. But because of that artist's apparent style, people are left to question. And LGBT plus people don't need to keep questioning. Queer media shouldn't be riddled with doubt, because we need it to be explicit. Especially in a place like Japan where homophobia is prevalent, and often the topic of queer relationships are only spoken of in certain circles. The Japanese anime market has problems with queerbaiting. Inclusion of fan service in non-LGBT settings, with the clear intention to never deliver, leave real LGBT people in the gutter. And even when queer themes are explicit, they're usually not marketed towards LGBT plus people. Now, I'm not a Japanese person. I'm a clueless Venezuelan who takes the gay where he can get it. And when I was first introduced to the gay side of anime, Yuri and Yaoi, I thought, wow, this is great! Let me watch every episode of Sekai Ichi Hatsukoi in a night! But genres like Yuri and Yaoi aren't marketed to an LGBT plus audience. They're marketed towards straight people. They aren't realistic portrayals and are problematic in a lot of ways. It's not real representation. Yuri on Ice did a good job at overcoming some of these issues, but it would have been helpful to have seen it go that final step, like how Number 6 actually did include a clear and uncensored kiss. There are many ways that Victor and Yuri's love is shown without a kiss scene. It's a bold choice to show the engagement between two men in a country where marriage between two people of the same gender isn't even legal. Showing real love between them is bold too. The nuance and ambiguity keeps the show interesting, especially when the whole point of the show is change. Change in Yuri and his development as a character. Change in all the other characters. Given how popular the show was, especially in how it attempted to tackle a queer relationship, it will serve as a hope for the future. It opens doors for other animes to try to represent queer people in a way that isn't riddled with problems. Does Yuri on Ice live up to its opening tune? Did Yuri on Ice make history? In many ways it did, while lacking in others. And although there are reasons to be critical about the show, the content is still compelling. It's a wonderful ride through the world of Victor and Yuri and their hopes for the future. The love between the two characters is pure, and it was so refreshing to see a queer relationship represented in a positive light. And I hope it serves as an example of the potential of queer anime. So, in the end, were they born to make queer history? You decide.